Continuation of the same subject. Fifth title and contemplation. Ah, how true it is, my love, how true it is that blessed and more than blessed is he who remains in your wisdom, who thinks and meditates in justice so as to strive never to vary from it, never crossing nor even coming close to crossing the threshold of the doorway. Remaining in wisdom, like a very resplendent sun, with all oneself and according to one's whole self in spirit, even in abundance of spirit, totally attracted, totally elevated, totally fixed, totally penetrated, totally penetrating within the high, the long, the wide, and the deep, where he is and in which he ought to be simple like you yourself in his inclination and thought, in the unity of his supreme powers, and then in the unity of his supreme care. And then in your very own core, above and beyond all that, this being luminous, rich, fruitful, wise, strong and constant, and made altogether untouchable, invincible, immobile, even out of reach. Oh, how the views and notions of such persons are far away from the senses, and how the whole inferior base is nobly and excellently elevated in your divine immensity, which, in the wholly penetrating activity of its rapid flow, fills a person with its spirit and plunges him deeply into the totality of itself, in a manner inconceivable to him who has not had experience of it. Now, it is there that by such an elevation, suppression, and penetration, one is full to the infinite of your generations, in the view and manifestation of your secrets and diverse notions, making in their view and impression in you yourself your very paradise on earth for one who, I say, knows not and is oftentimes unaware of whether he is on earth. Oh, how such persons are profoundly lost in the circumspection and in the vision of God, with which they overflow abundantly within and without, everywhere, to burn all, to enrapture all, and to lose all that is touched by their loving flow. And so it does great good to converse with such persons, who have in them and for them, and who give to others paradise on earth, so to speak, are abundantly fed with the bread of life and of intelligence, and given to drink of the water of salutary wisdom. They have, I say, all that abundance not only for themselves, but also to make it flow to those who have the disposition of your own spirit to receive it and to be completely satisfied as well as illumined, enriched, and bathed. In this way it is the flow of such a fecundity, which does and works marvel on the earth in the midst of whoever is found to be sincere in every respect. This may happen between equals of equal spirit and equal constitution, and better yet still between those who are unequal, provided that they are elevated and fixed according to some state and constitution in the same wisdom as you are wherein they contemplate you or examine you in and of yourself, not in the senses nor by the effort of the senses, but in the divine abundance and repletion of your infinite spirit, drawing all, changing all, and transforming all into itself. It is there, I say, that all things are one in the very unique and very fertile one, like yourself in the totality of yourself, although in diverse gradations of effective flow. When flow yet very distinctly and uniquely the views into the view, and the notions all condensed into the eminence of the unique one that sees them and contains them separately in themselves, eminently and uniquely without transgressing unity, having and possessing you along with all things above all things, by a totally ineffable manner, view, knowledge, and experience. For, to express certain things about these truths in themselves, there are neither words nor similitudes that can explain or manifest anything about them, unless it be very approximately and very roughly, with respect to that which is in you, in which one is totally melted and cast away into the continuation of the effects and operations of such a state and constitution, very diverse and very unified in their diversity, or yet even higher above all that, in a totally different way. And it is this, my love and my life, that wisdom produces its infinite effects in all those who have been, are, and will be truly enamored with it in its own source and cause, and not in themselves or for themselves. Thus, my love, such persons have and will always have your paradise on earth. Yours and theirs, in the abundance of its flow, theirs by yours and in yours above its flow, which says everything and shows everything to whoever understands it well. But in order to understand it, it is necessary to have it and to be totally fixed and constituted in it as in one's supreme center and supreme repose, equally desired and possessed. This is why the soul, who is a faithful bride to you, must be so faithful to you, infinite majesty, that as she flies lovingly toward you, she never finds herself coming back down upon anything whatsoever, no matter what circumstances must be considered. It is fitting to understand this wholesomely and in the right way. Ah, my love, of what use is it for one who has the full vision of you to bring forth so many words in the very midst of enjoyment of yourself, in your divine and infinite vision above all notion, distinction, and expression in words? For if we wanted to reason about this, we would yet find some reasons of eminence and of foundation, in eminence and in depth. But even this is by far separated from what we see, I mean of our object which you are, which we enjoy in itself as much as and to the extent that it is possible to the poor, weak, corruptible, and mortal creature. What is this then? We see all, we know all, we have all, we possess all, we enjoy all. What of all that has been created or may be created can make us divert from there? Your apostle manifests it, and we see it in the objective fruition that we have from you, who are and will be for all your eternity, our infinite and sovereign good. Therefore, if we turn toward outward things, we would be in so doing the most miserable persons who were ever under heaven. And all this is in the manner in which your majesty understands it, and I too without comparison to infinity. Thus, my love, the difference is yet very great between the one and the other of our conditions. It is true that, such as we are, though confined within matter, we are infinitely above and beyond matter, and, moreover, of simple spirit. But in the end the day will arrive when we shall be in possession and full fruition of our final object, which is our last, eternal, uncircumscribed, and incomprehensible term, our state and constitution, in all that we are, will then be assured, fixed, and immobile, sincerely in yourself as yourself. And although we may speak and conceive, here and elsewhere, of what is more surpassed and more supereminent and more superessential, where our object and fruition are one, in one and the same thing, in the totality of yourself, it is undeniable that this is always in the knowledge, experience, and understanding of this difference, which makes us wage war generously, in faith, hope, and charity, above that itself, because we are on the way and we are wayfarers. And it is to this that must be related all that I have been able to say here and there in my works in similar expressions of our present state and condition. For although this flow, so simple and so lost, having flowed back and been cast away, be the flow and the forms beneath simple flow and beneath simple forms of eternal ideas, nonetheless the reasons and the order of present things still require in themselves, or for their welfare, this total difference of plenitude of fruition in fruition, according to what I have always heard said. This is why there is the place of conquest and the time to conquer, so as at least not to lose what has been conquered in the enjoyment of it, and the time to enjoy it very fully as belonging to us very assuredly, to the totality of yourself, in such a way that the saying of the wise man about this is found to be perfectly true. For we grow and will grow until the perfect day when our wait will come to an end without alteration or possible change. This end is not so very far from here, because it is only the difference between the way and the fatherland, between the material term and the final term, which is you yourself. In this way, while we are living on the way, although we are enjoying with our spirit and the most intimate part of ourselves, it still befits us to love and govern ourselves as combatant wayfarers, doing this so that, by our effort, we do not set foot from the place and ardor in which you have placed us, constituted and fixed us, for to do otherwise would be to shirk all duty of loving, of love, of respect, of reverence. Thus, my dear life and my dear love, must we take pains, indeed all pains, to remain sincere in your wisdom in eminence of vision and of flow, if it is needful, so as to remain always unique within the unique, simple within the simple. Without any alteration or variety whatsoever, you infinite majesty doing all things in us, and us reciprocally very ordained to make forever all the works of your majesty's good pleasure. Now it is her, and in this point that the bride is more firm than rock, for it is you who are stronger and more firm than that rock and above it. In herself she is yourself in the totality of yourself, allotted an eternal strength for an eternal heritage, which is the same enjoyment of the totality of yourself. Thus, since you are her full paradise in the immense flow of your infinite glory, in the totality of what is yours made hers, and in the plenitude, fullness of what is hers, which is yours and all yours, from which results for her in all your eternity, and, even starting here, all the good and the pleasure of your infinite paradise. For if, my love, it be such that, according to all reason, here is the place of vicissitudes, that is true in part, and in one sense, and not at all in the other, if we are, despite this, faithful in the active activity of our aim, view, and fruition from you. It is necessary then to arrange things so as to be faithful and sincere to this point, in order that, as we are no longer and live no longer for ourselves and in ourselves, we should live from you and you, or, to say it better, in order that you should live and be in our being, made yours, remaining yours without alteration or change, which is yet a secret of your super essence understood only by you. Now, my love, all things are full of you, and you are full of yourself to the point of abounding fully yourself unto the deification of what is created to the measure and proportion of its capacity. And it is in this flow of yours that all your pleasure outside yourself consists, as you see the creature, I say, flow back with all its appetite into its original cause, which you are, where, and in which it is blessed, in conformity with the order of its appetite. But what afflicts you extremely, O my life, is to see that the evil and those who live badly do not flow back into you their origin, and that they no longer worry about your good nor their own, in living well. That is, in living in love with you, than if they had been made by you for nothing, spreading out into what is created as if it were their proper end, and full satiety in such a way that just as your friends are divine in your divinity, these, I mean those who are perverted, are vile mud and stinking manure in which they are lying as in the place of their own repose. It is a strange thing, O my love, that such noble creatures should become such ignoble criminals against your majesty by so very many crimes. But you let each one work out his salvation freely, in such a way that, not wanting to constrain anyone to give himself to you otherwise than as he wishes, you let him have his own way, without leading him any more by your own course, which does not satisfy him, so that he knows you and loves you only if he wants to. But speaking at present no longer of these, but of your friends, not faithful as they should be to your majesty, I told you already, my dear life, in my excessive sorrow, that it is a great pity to see them only giving themselves to you halfway, as if envisaging you with one eye and looking at creation and at themselves with the other. Oh, how the salvation of such people is doubtful, since one cannot serve two lords. Alas, my life, To remain thus is to be really blocked, caught up in loose morals, turned around, stopped, and living more for oneself than for you. One will say to me about this that it is the love that perfects, with which your friends must rightly love you, and that it does not matter much as long as one is in your common friendship and charity, with which I have already said that you love all your mercenary servants. But this could be true if a continual flow of a new and marvelous obligation were not intervening in them from your side, if you were not intervening in them by a continual flow and thus marvelously creating a new obligation to be satisfied. It is the greatest marvel that can be thought of that they do not employ themselves and do not apply themselves to this consideration, to love you infinitely with their whole selves as they ought. And how is it possible that your servants should have such disgust for you? What is this, my love? Is it possible that after having felt, even many times, more or less, the flow of your divine sweetness in them, they can neglect you in such a cowardly way? Alas, what a great misery it is to see your servants so full of your knowledge, and nonetheless so little enamored of you, and so enamored of themselves, and of created things into which they selfishly pour themselves, or in which they are selfishly absorbed. Ah, my love, maybe they no longer know you, or at least they barely know you, by the flow of your loving wisdom, which is no longer in them, but only by understanding and by natural speculation about it. They conceive and say great things about you, without all that being simple of heart within you. You are within, indeed in their inmost self, and they seek you outside through all visible things, but scientifically and for the sake of learning. Oh, how happy and 1,000 times happy, my love, is one who has the flow of your divine wisdom and spirit in himself, and who, either in the abundance or above the abundance of this flow, loves you reasonably and with reasonable love, pure and simple, strongly and perfectly, who is made simple of heart, of spirit, of thought, and of sense, and simple in his whole self, this being the effect of your fervent and simple love in him. Such a man, I say, abhors all that is created, and the quest for his own self-satisfaction more than death itself in the very great avidity that he has to drink and eat you, so to speak, in order to fill with you his very famished appetite, a thirst for you and in you, within the perpetual practices of your infinite will, love, and good pleasure, not living and never desiring to live from any other life nor in any other life than yours, which has been and will be forever his full paradise on earth, all in all. Oh, what a difference there is, my love, between one kind of people and the other. And if those neglecting to love you could see this difference with their eyes, who soon they would change their life and their practice to convert totally and uniquely to you, not being able to humble themselves enough nor to compose themselves in the presence of your infinite majesty, and seeing that for so long they have failed to acknowledge this majesty through their infidelity, having loved only themselves and their vanity instead, I myself believe that they would die of sorrow and sadness. Ah, it is a strange thing worthy of being infinitely deplored that a creature should have forgotten its Creator, and indeed forgets him so as to seek creatures and itself, being contented, at most, with avoiding the most vulgar venial sins, which it hardly ever apprehends as such, according to widespread moral standards. For if this creature saw and perceived by the effect of your grace flowing in it, it would see the big and tall mountains, which are to infinite in number, in itself between you and it. But leaving such persons there, we cast our eyes upon your faithful servants, my love, who run straight forward, all naked and breathless, the course of your infinite love, at their own cause and expense, which is all there is to say to you on this subject.